I don't want to talk about the playoffs, but we are talking about Colorado going to the playoff.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you darn well please get your podcasts. So thank you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're talking about Colorado going to the playoff. Now, this isn't a declaration of me saying, you know what, year two, it's going to all fall into place and they're going to the playoff, but it's going to be me telling you what they can do and what they need to make it to the playoff. So a good friend of mine who works over at betonline.ag sent me odds for teams, opening lines for Power Four conference teams to make the first ever 12-team college football playoff. So as you can imagine, Ohio State has a 90% chance, of 1 to minus 1,000 odds, Georgia minus 900 odds, Oregon minus 500, Texas minus 500. So you guys scroll down right away because obviously you guys aren't familiar. The playoff has changed. It is now the 5 best conference teams make it, conference champions, and then the rest are at large bids. So basically, you win your conference, you're in. If you don't win your conference, you have to hope that you were able to kind of be in that next top 7 of teams to make it into the playoff. So Colorado, being that they're in the Big 12, being that they are such a popular team and popular bet, they have odds of plus 2,200, so 22 to 1, which is a 4.35% chance of making it to the playoff. Some other notable teams that have odds similar to them are Florida and Nebraska and Washington. So I look at these odds and it's like Colorado going to the playoff is obviously a long shot. They only give them a 4.35% chance. They have a tough schedule. Did they add enough talent? They obviously added enough talent to make it to a bowl game. I'm almost certain. I think right now over at FanDuel, their win projection total, is 5.5. So I would take the over in a heartbeat. I took the over last season, as I told you guys to do if I were a gambling man. As I told you guys I would do. I'm not a gambling expert or I'm not giving gambling advice, but that's what I would have done, was taking the over 3.5. And they hit that by, I think, like week 5 or week 6-ish. So now I look at this Colorado team and I'm like, they're improved on offense, on defense, the offensive lines. They have more wide receivers. And it's like, what is holding them back? What could prevent them from making it to the playoff? So these are the 3 things that I think Colorado needs to make it to the playoff. 1, they need a top tier offense. Realistically, and this isn't a shock, their defense is not going to be one of the best defenses in the country. I think it will be much improved. I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm not saying it's going to be horrendous. I just don't know if they are an elite defense. So they need a top tier offense. They need a top tier balanced offense. Last season, they had one of the most prolific passing offenses, but the run game was pretty much useless. Now, obviously, that is kind of a byproduct of the offensive line, but it is also a byproduct of the fact that they just didn't have the run. They didn't have the run schemes that they needed. They didn't have creativity in the run game. I think they would try to run the ball like 7 times early in the game and then be like, okay, well, we tried. It's time to throw it out, throw the ball 56 times in a game. Like, I think they need to have a balanced offense, feed Alton McCaskill, get Dylan Edwards his touches, get Michael Welch some of his touches, and let those guys go to work. Shedeur Sanders does not need to throw the ball 60 times a game for this offense to be prolific. I think this offense being more balanced will help the defense out by keeping them off the field longer. And it just makes life easier for Shedeur because if they have to respect the run, it opens up more things in the pass. Secondly, they need an above average defense. It's not very often that a team goes to a championship and wins a championship or makes it to the playoff with a bad defense. I think Washington this past season, their defense wasn't like statistically one of the better defenses, but they had some, like Braylon Trice was making plays. They had some good secondary members like Jabbar Muhammad. They had good players. And so they weren't always the best defense. They had good moments. Who else? Like I think of, there's certain teams where it's like they made the playoff, but they didn't have the best defense. Colorado had one of the worst defenses in the country last season. So obviously they're going to be improved, I assume. And if they get above average, because there's 134, I think, teams now with Kennesaw State, if they could be in that 60 to that 45 to 60 range, that changes everything for this team. That means teams are not running the ball down their throats. That means teams are not airing it out and just toasting them every single play. And that means they're going to be in more games. It is what it is. They had a few games where they lost by single digits. In large part, there was a lot of things that went wrong. Like, you could point fingers at the play calling, the time management by Coach Prime, the offense not executing, and the defense missing tackles. But the defense gets a lot of brunt of the blame because when a team drives down the field and scores, it's like, okay, the defense, what are we doing, guys? And it's like, obviously, defense is always going to get the blame more so than other things around them. So they could have above average defense. That kind of changes the game. If you have an above average defense in the Big 12 and a prolific offense, hello, you are probably at or near the top of this conference. This conference, I don't want to say it's because the Big 12 is it's thick. It's got some good competition, but this year's or 2024's Big 12 is not as good as 2023's Pac-12. So if Colorado could kind of hang around with some of the better teams in the Pac-12, if they can improve on offense and defense, they should be at or near the top in the Big 12. It's just a fact. These Big 12 teams are not nearly as good. And then the third thing, this is kind of just a generalization, a broad generalization. They need to survive November. So if Colorado has any chance of making it to the playoff, they obviously have to handle business early in the season and take down like North Dakota State, Nebraska, Colorado State, Baylor, UCF. Tough games, solid games. I think they could go 5-0. When I do my record predictions, at worst, I'll probably have them, which I can't predict my own future because I don't know what I'm going to be thinking in a couple months. But I want to see who they add after the spring during the spring portal window, and then I'll decide from there. But I think at worst they should be 4-1, and then they have a bye week, and then they have Kansas State and Arizona. That'll be tough. But again, to make the playoff, you just have to win your conference. So even if they have a couple setbacks, they still have a chance to win the Big 12. It's just going to be a little more difficult. But when I look at their November schedule, after they take on Kansas State and Arizona, they have another bye week, and then it's Cincinnati on October 26th. They should blow out Cincinnati. Cincinnati's terrible. Reminds me of that Stanford game where it's like right before the bye week. I think I just said the bye week was before Cincinnati. It's after Cincinnati. Correction on my part. But they should blow out Cincinnati. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the conference. And then they play 4 straight games against Big 12 title contenders. And if they don't survive that, like if at worst for them to contend, they need to go 2-2. If they go below 500 in this stretch, it will be a tough task, and the playoff would be a very big reach for them. They start off going at Lubbock in November. I want to November 9th. If that's a Friday night game in Lubbock, that is going to be super difficult just because, oh my, no, it's a Saturday night game in Lubbock. It's going to be a difficult one regardless. It's always weird things happen in Lubbock. Also, I liked what Josh Pate said about Texas Tech recently. He's like, everyone had expectations for them in 2023. They fell short. So that means in 2024, they're going to live up to those expectations. That's just how things work. So expect for Texas Tech to be a really good team. They have one of the best running backs in the country. They're a solid team. Even if they're not ranked, they're going to be a really tough win. And then Utah, who returns Cam Rising, Brant Kuithe, a ton of players in the transfer portal added. They are a much improved team, even though they were really solid this past year and were plagued by injury. That's going to be a tough game. At Kansas. Kansas is a new football program. They are investing a lot of money in their program. They just gave their coach Lance Leipold $7 million per year. So they're clearly like, okay, we want to win football. We want to be a part of this future of college football. And that's going to be a tough one. They have Jalen Daniels. Is he going to be healthy? Maybe. But are they going to be one of the better teams in the Big 12? Absolutely. This Kansas team is peaking at the right time. And then they close the year against Oklahoma State. And it's like, oh boy. Oklahoma State was just playing for a Big 12 title. They returned practically everyone. What if they don't survive that? Like, worst case scenario, this is my worst case scenario for them. They go 0-4 in that stretch. Best case scenario, they go like 3-1. So to win the Big 12, you need to have a prolific offense. You need your defense to be above average, and you need to survive November, because if you don't survive November, there's really no point in talking about the playoff, because obviously losing the final few games of the year will be detrimental. So it's one of those things. Those are my 3 things. You comment below what you think Colorado needs to do in order to make the playoff. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the latest buff that was shown the door. But first, a word from our sponsors over at Gametime. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets from all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And right now, all users get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket with code Vegas100. With killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All in prices show you your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. You can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Right now, all Game Time users get $100 off a big game ticket with code Vegas100. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app and use code VEGAS100 for $100 off a big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the game, use code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Excuse me. Welcome back. And thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow. We're 100 subscribers away from 5,000. Let's get there. Kicked off, shown the door. Coach Prime has a culture to uphold, and he has a tough decision to make, and he made it twice already this offseason. And it's truly unfortunate for these young men because it's a huge opportunity. Playing Power 5 football, college football at any level is a huge opportunity, but playing for Deion Sanders, playing for um, NFL Hall of Famers, and having the attention that Colorado has is a huge opportunity. So it's unfortunate that doesn't work out for everybody, but that is a part of life. Colorado has now kicked off 2 players from last year's number 1 transfer portal class, with the second one being confirmed to be Tar'Varish Dawson. I know there were some rumors about it, but I didn't want to discuss it until it was officially confirmed. It was reported by our good friends over at Buffs Beat that he was dismissed from the team. There was really no explanation why. I mean, typically there isn't, but it says he was dealing with personal matter last week, and he gave a statement saying, "I'm disappointed that I'm no longer with my teammates at Colorado. It's an unfortunate situation, but I'm excited for my future and being able to take my talents elsewhere. I'm thankful for the opportunity Coach Prime and his staff gave me in Boulder. I'm just a kid from Fort Myers, like he was Coach Prime, and it means a lot. With that said, I'm ready to work and will be entering the transfer portal this spring." Obviously, Tar'Varish Dawson was a former highly touted recruit, former 4-star. I liked what he brought to the offense in the few games we saw him. He had a really big game against Nebraska, receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown. And it's not to say that Colorado's wide receiver room moves on, but if there was any position where it was okay to lose someone, it would be wide receiver. They have so much more talent there than they do pretty much anywhere else. There's a good chance, and I've kind of been seeing this just like in discussions where Jimmy Horn Jr., who was one of the like revelations last season, will probably or may not start next season because they have LeJontay Wester, they have Will Shepherd, they have Baby T.O., they have all these guys. They have Draylon Miller, Cameron McKell. They have all these guys ready to come in and play right away. They have just guys everywhere at receiver. It's insane. And Omarion Miller, I forgot to mention him as well. So for Tar'Varish Dawson to kind of be shown the door, it's like unfortunate because you want everything to work out for these guys. I personally liked what he could be as a weapon in terms of like getting him touches on jet sweeps or getting him carries or whatever it may be, screens, like quick little outs. Like he had speed, he had game breaking speed. It obviously just did not work out. And so for Colorado and Coach Prime to decide to move on, obviously it must have been a tough decision. He, like I said, the second player to be kicked off the team. Bishop Thomas was also reportedly kicked off the team. If you guys didn't know, defensive lineman from Florida State. So it's one of those things where it's like, you hate to see it. It's a part of the college game, but and this isn't to make light of the situation, but Colorado is obviously loaded at receiver. They really are. They have no worries there. And so for Tar'Varish Dawson to kind of miss out on this opportunity, it's unfortunate to him. It'll be interesting to see where he lands because I think this will be school number 3 for him, but he still has speed. He's shown when he's on the field, he can make plays. It's just a matter of staying on the field and staying focused on everything that is happening on the field and not letting off the field distractions get in the way, which is a lot easier said than done. But either way, truly unfortunate situation for him. But I do think Colorado's offense and wide receiver room will be okay. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers, you get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. You can look at Nikola Jokic triple-double. You can look at Steph Curry threes made. You can look at LeBron James triple-doubles, whatever, maybe assists, points. Anthony Davis double-doubles. Or maybe get a little risky and you take the over on a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander points in a game because he's obviously always dropping buckets every single game, getting buckets. That's what he does. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and making me your first listen of the day. Like I say every day, my everydayers. You guys know who you are. Comment if you are an everydayer, which means you tune in every single day. You deal with this mug or you listen to this voice, and we just vibe. We just vibe talking about Colorado football. I appreciate you guys more than you know. We're almost at 5,000 subscribers. I appreciate it. Love all you guys. Let's talk about Shedeur Sanders' star power. Now, there's two things that I want to talk about that really make this special. For one, I want to talk about obviously what happened, but two, I'm going to talk about how this can kind of translate to helping Colorado recruit. And you're probably like, how in the world does this help Colorado recruit? Let me tell you. First of all, some context. The other day, I think a few days ago now, Shedeur Sanders was given a signed jersey and signed shoes by LeBron James, NBA legend, Los Angeles Lakers legend, Miami Heat, Cleveland Cavaliers, arguably the GOAT, depending on how old you are. I think he's the GOAT, but obviously I'm not a Michael Jordan era kid. So you guys will probably rip me in the comments for that as well. But realistically, LeBron James, one of the best basketball players to ever play the game. Travis and Shedeur were at a Denver Nuggets Lakers game a couple months ago, and Shedeur was like, hey, send a jersey, send shoes. And LeBron sent it. And it's huge because obviously there's a lot of college players, college athletes where it's like they are stars, but then there's like a select group where it's like they are superstars. It's like this in every sport. There are star players and then there are superstars. Shedeur Sanders is a superstar in college football. He is someone who can dominate. He is someone who has a recognizable name and face by just about everyone. And he is someone who has more pull in terms of just the national spotlight than other players. So he gets this signed jersey and the signed shoes by LeBron. And everyone's like, oh, that's cool. Like, whatever. No. This is huge for Colorado. And you're probably like, oh my gosh, is he going to go on about how it helps them recruit? I am. That's what I have to do because it does. You come to Colorado. There's a blueprint. Excuse me, I got the hiccups right now. There is a blueprint where Coach Prime does not have the win-loss record at Colorado. He has the win-loss record at Jackson State, but not at Colorado yet, where his blueprint is to show athletes. You come to Colorado, you will have a chance to play for a playoff spot in the Big 12. You have a chance to be on nationally televised games every single week, and being in the Big 12 will only help that because obviously there's no Pac-12 network to deal with where it's like, oh my gosh, are we really going to have to watch this game on the Pac-12? Am I really going to have to download some random app so I can stream this Colorado game? National televised every week. You're going to be one of the most watched teams in the country. And if you ball out, you get crazy NIL deals and opportunities. Coach Prime in of himself is an icon. He is a sports icon that has a lot of pull. He generates interest from guys like Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, LeBron James, Terrell Owens, Michael Irvin, Offset, The Rock. Like, he is bringing in all of these famous people. And while it may not translate to every single player, because obviously you're not just going to be like, hey, what's up? I had 2 catches the whole year and I would like to go into business with you, Mr. LeBron James. But you come into Colorado, you ball out, you get exposure, you get NIL deals, you build connections, and you get to compete at the highest level. That is the perfect selling point. And while a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, it's just Shedeur, like it's because his dad. No, Shedeur Sanders represents Colorado, whether people want to admit it or not. Shedeur Sanders is the face of the Colorado program in terms of players. And so him having this off-field success is a selling point for Colorado because it's like, if you come here, you will be at one of the most popular programs. You have a chance to succeed. You have a chance to earn NIL money, and you have a chance to build major connections that will help you throughout your life and career. So for those of you that are downplaying getting a signed jersey and shoes by LeBron, you're probably like, oh, who cares? Recruits care. Recruits care about things being popular. Recruits care about the opportunities that these doors can open, and recruits care about the social media clout. And Colorado gives you all those things. And obviously, you're not playing for clicks all the time, but getting some clicks certainly doesn't hurt. You guys comment below. I think it does help. You guys let me know if it helps or not. I think it does. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs every day and making me your first listen of the day. Like I say, we are so close to 5,000 subscribers. We're going to have some great guests coming up. You guys won't want to miss it. I will see you guys tomorrow.